Learn Persian with Chai and Conversation. A Separation with Yara Elmjouie, Part 5. Salam Yara Jan.
Hi Lila June, خسته نباشی.
خسته نباشی. We're here back with our Part 5 of our Separation series. This is the last clip that we're going to go over, and we're introducing a new character in this clip, and that is one of the title characters, Simin. So can you tell us a little bit about the clip and why you chose it, Yara?
Yeah, so she comes up in, obviously, the title of the film, Jodai Nader as Simin, the separation of Nader from Simin. But this clip is great because it demonstrates what it's like to have an argument in Persian where you're firing back and forth, things are being said. It's a lot of like colloquial, casual, modern spoken Persian, just off the cuff. And I thought it was a great way to learn a lot of phrases because when you're arguing, you're not really thinking as hard about how you're saying something. It just comes out really naturally. And that's what we can see in this clip. A lot of natural, angry language.
Absolutely. And it's going to move really quick. We are going to go over each phrase of this dialogue like we have in every other clip. But I strongly urge you to follow along with the transcript of this lesson, to follow along with either the English phonetic or the Persian script so you can see every single word that's in there. But we're going to learn a lot of really exciting new insults that you can use when speaking to people, especially when you're having an argument. And another big spoiler alert for this clip, especially this kind of, it has a lot of the twist in the movie in it. So definitely do not listen to this if you haven't watched the movie.
Yeah, watch it on Amazon Prime. Highly recommend. Watch the whole film. It's a great film. I mean, it's a big spoiler where Nader, something happens and the woman that we see, Razia, in the earlier scenes, who's the caretaker of the father, she falls down the stairs and she suffers a miscarriage. That sort of starts the conflict, the main conflict of the movie.
All right, so now we're going to watch the clip together.
شبانه با تو جمع کنم بریم خارج.
گوره بابای خارج، چرا مثل آدم حرف نمیزنی؟ من اومدم دارم با تو حرف میزنم راجع به ترمه. این چه وضعیه واسه این بچه درست کردی آخه؟
من این وضع درست کردم. خوبه رود میشه وایس جلوی من این حرفو بزنی. کی خونه زندگیشو ول کرد رفت؟ کی برای من درخواست طلاق داد؟
خودت گفتی هر موقع خواستی برو.
آره الانم میگم. برای چی برگشتی؟
برنگشتم. اومدم تکلیف بچه‌مو روشن کنم.
تکلیف روشنه.
تو دو تا راه داری.
ببین برای من خط و نشون نکش.
خط و نشون یعنی چی؟ یا میای میری با این یارو مسئله‌تو حل می‌کنی.
نه اونو خودم میدونم باید چیکار کنم.
مگه نزدیش؟ مگه پرتش نکردی تو پله؟ مگه بچه‌ش نمرده؟
آره بچه‌شو من کشتم.
خب
آره.
چی میگی؟ چرا هی لجبازی می‌کنی؟ بیا این دیگه رو بده تموم شه.
من پول زور به کسی نمیدم.
چرا پول زور؟ یه دقیقه خودتو بذار جای این بدبختا.
مگه من باعث بدبختیشونم؟
بچه‌شون مرده بابا.
منم بابام داغون شده. بیا برو ببین. یه کلمه دیگه حرف نمیزنه. اینها.
مگه قبلش چقدر حرف میزد؟
همون 4 تا کلمه. من دلم به همون 4 تا کلمه خوش.
اینو میخوای بذاری بغلم که زدی بچه‌ش افتاده؟
تو کدوم گوری بودی که ببینی من زدم؟
پس این چه جوری بچه‌ش مرده؟
Okay. We're going to leave it at that cliffhanger.
All right. So I guess let's just jump into things here. Straight off, the first phrase. Should we play the clip or should we...
Yes.
Yeah, let's just play the first few lines.
شبانه با تو جمع کنم بریم خارج.
گوره بابای خارج، چرا مثل آدم حرف نمیزنی؟ من اومدم دارم با تو حرف میزنم راجع به ترمه. این چه وضعیه واسه این بچه درست کردی آخه؟
Okay, so first of all, I want to note that Terme is here standing in the background. And yeah, this clip gives me, just watching it gives me so much chills because there's so much familiar in here. If you've ever had an argument with a significant other, there's just so much happening in the background that it's just a lot of like throwbacks to like, you said this. And then the daughter standing here watching. So,
Yeah, totally. No, it's very relatable. Or if you have fighting parents as well, that's another.
Exactly. Yeah. You and I both come from, our parents are no longer together. So.
Exactly. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. The first thing, right? We'll just start off by Shabune ba to jam konam berim kharij, and that's coming from Nader to Simin. And basically what that is Shabune is kind of the Tehran accented version of Shabane, which is overnight. So he's like okay, so he's saying this sort of sarcastically, overnight, let's just pack everything and go abroad.
Kharij. Kharij is a word you hear all the time in Iran. And again, this is a social commentary movie. A lot of movies are about Iranians trying to get out of Iran, which we don't necessarily have living in the United States. That's not a common theme of movies. but everyone's trying to leave because of the government there and the circumstances there. So kharij.
And then, Layla, we have this excellent series of insults that Simin lobs against Nader.
So first she says gure babay kharij. So gure baba is an insult, and you can either use it towards a person, like gure babat, like if I'm just saying it direct, if I'm talking to Yara and I'm really angry, I could be like gure babat, and it literally means the grave of your father. And it's a huge insult. But in this case, she's saying gure babay kharij. So like basically she's saying fuck going abroad. Like that's not what we're talking about. Or if we want to be a little bit more polite, screw going abroad. But really it does have that gravity of you need to kind of use the F word
yeah,
for
exactly. And you can like screw anything. You can screw a home, you can screw a plant, you can screw gure babaye khunat, your house, gure babaye mamanit, screw your mom. Like you can literally insert anything you want to say the F word to or screw to. You just put it at the end of gure babaye, and then
So gure babay kharij. چرا مثل آدم حرف نمیزنی? So this is another big insult that you say, like مثل آدم. So that means like a person, like a human. So not like an animal. So why don't you talk like a person? Why are you talking like an animal? Like why are you not making any sense is basically what she's saying. چرا مثل آدم حرف نمیزنی? And آدم literally comes from Adam and Eve. It's our word for human. So talk like a human.
Exactly.
Why aren't you talking like a human? So she's saying like, don't change the subject. I'm talking to you here.
And then it continues. من اومدم دارم با تو حرف میزنم راجع به ترمه. And that's pretty, clear. I've come here to talk to you about terme.
Their daughter.
Yeah, exactly. Their daughter. So nothing really interesting going on in that sentence. This is a great one though, the next one. این چه وضعیه واسه این بچه درست کردی آخه. So the word, this is a great one. The word vaz, I have to say, is really widely used a lot of the time. It's like situation, really, but you can throw it into anything. So vaz, and then sometimes they'll even do the Arabic pluralization of vaz, which is oza. What she's saying here is, what sort of situation have you created for this kid or daughter here? And then she ends it with ache, which again is one of those filler words like interjections along the lines of dige, those sorts of things. So she could have not said ache, but she's giving it a little like spank at the end. Like, what situation have you created for our daughter? Spank.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Really good way to put it. And then he comes back and he says, "Man, این وضع درست کردم." So I made the situation. So it's kind of like a blame game. این چه وضعی درست کردی؟ من این وضع درست کردم. Oh, let's listen to it. We haven't listened to it. Let's keep going.
من اومدم دارم با تو حرف میزنم راجع به ترمه. این چه وضعی واسه این بچه درست کردی آخه؟
من این وضع درست کردم. خوبه رود میشه وایس جلوی من این حرفو بزنی.
Great. Another big insult. Okay. من این وضع درست کردم. Did I do this? خوبه روت میشه وایسی جلوی من این حرفو بزنی. Okay. Yara, take this one away.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so once again, vaz. Vaz, so useful. Situation. You can use situation for so many things. I really can't stress enough how common and how useful this word is when you're talking in Persian. Vaz inja chera injuriye. Why is the situation here like this? Like, exactly. So they're talking about the situation where you can use situation anywhere. So useful. وضع خونش چقدر خرابه وضعش چقدر خرابه messy, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. The situation of this home is messy. In other words, the home is messy. Anyway, so he basically then questions, I'm the one that created the situation for our daughter. من این وضع درست کردم. And then he fires back with the new one we're going to learn. خوبه روت میشه وایسی جلوی من این حرفو بزنی. So it's good that root میشه. This is the phrase.
Yeah.
You have...
So root میشه, it's like literally your face, like you can face me and say that. Like root میشه. So ru means on, but it's referring to your face. And it's kind of like, oh, you dare. Like root میشه. You dare stand in front of me.
You have the gall to say that, right? How good that you have the gall to stand here in front of me and say that thing.
Right. Yeah, and you can use this again. رو شدن is a very common phrase that you can use. Like if you go to a store and they forget to give you an item, but then you're embarrassed to like remind them. You say روم نشد بگم.
I was
I
embarrassed.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was embarrassed. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I
Maybe it
couldn't.
has something. Could we just say like, is it related to saving face? Like,
Saving face. That's
would that be a
absolutely
good
it.
one? Right? Like ru
Yep.
mishe. So we can ru means like front. It could mean face. So yeah, how good
Yeah.
that you don't feel the need to save face and stand here and say that in front. Anyway, something like that. How good that you're not embarrassed to just say that in front of me.
Yeah.
All right. So next part, Layla, if you want to play
Okay.
it in the video.
کی خونه زندگیشو ول کرد رفت؟ کی برای من درخواست طلاق داد؟
خودت گفتی هر موقع خواستی برو.
Ooh, okay. That line hits me to the core.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
take the first one, effect.
okay. کی خونه زندگیشو ول کرد رفت. Who خونه زندگی is one of those things that Yara has talked about a lot in the past episodes where you put two phrases together, two words together. خونه زندگی often goes together. It means my house and livelihood. So who put their house and livelihood, left them and left. ول کرد و رفت. That's another one.
Yeah.
It's again why use less words when you can use more. ول کرد و رفت are synonyms. ول کرد means put aside.
Like,
و رفت and left. So he's put خونه زندگی. Who took their household and livelihood and left it and went away.
yeah, exactly. Vel kat rap, like dropped it and left, like
Dropped it and left.
yeah. So it's a lot. There's two, khuna zendegi. And this is so interesting because in Persian you see this all the time. Two nouns or two verbs are combined and they actually create a new meaning. So in this case, khune is house and zendegi is life. But when you say khune zendegi, you're sort of it is like house and livelihood, but like the meaning is kind of like your life. It's not like life zendegi as in your source of your heart beating, but it's like you just left who's the one who left her life and just wanted to run away. That's basically what he's saying. So
Yes.
yeah, and then the next line would be if you want to کی برای من درخواست
کی برای من درخواست طلاق داد. So طلاق is the word for divorce. درخواست is it's a very simple, what is it? Translation?
It's like request. Who's the one?
Request. That's exactly. Request. Who gave me a request for a divorce?
Exactly.
Who was the one who initiated all this? Like who left? Who gave me the initiation for the divorce? And then this is the part that really cuts me. He says خودت گفتی هر موقع خواستی برو. And this to me is the heart of the movie. Like when I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness. Like this is what led to the problem. Like he loved her but he's a very proud man. But he at one point said this one phrase that stuck with her. And I feel like we've all had relationships like this where someone just says something carelessly and they don't really mean it. But then that is the heart of the movie. Like this is what led to everything is هر موقع خواستی برو. So he told her, anytime you want, leave. And that to her was like, oh, you're not going to fight for me anymore.
Yeah.
I get chills even hearing it right now. So خودت گفتی
It's like a threat.
هر موقع خواستی. Yeah, you said whenever you want, leave. And that's like the worst thing anyone can ever. Yes. Yeah,
totally.
And for him,
completely agree.
For him, it was something probably that he felt threatened, so then he just wanted to like hurt her in a way, and he was like, "Whenever you want, leave. Like I don't care." But then it led to all this.
Exactly. One small thing. That's like Asghar Farahadi movie. One small little thing happens or is said, or a small little lie is said, and then causes a whole series of dominoes to fall.
Exactly.
So all right, that's pretty. Yeah.
Okay,
so
next part.
All of that's pretty self-explanatory. I think let's go on to what is the next one here?
But that was the gravity of the situation, and I love the way she said it too. She's just like, خودت گفتی هر وقت. Oh, it's just. Oh. Okay, so let's go back and listen to this part again.
کی برای من درخواست طلاق داد؟
خودت گفتی هر موقع خواستی برو.
آره الانم میگم. برای چی برگشتی؟
Oh. Come on, man. Come on. You should have stopped right there. He doubles down. And he says, آره. الان هم میگم. He says, yeah, I'll say it again. I'll say it right now. برای چی برگشتی? Why'd you come back?
Oh, Oof.
Come on, man. And then, yeah, we mentioned Terme standing there watching this too. Ugh. It's long-term damage, long-term therapy bills. I'm just going to say that.
برای چی برگشتی؟
برنگشتم. اومدم تکلیف بچه‌مو روشن کنم.
تکلیف روشنه.
So then,
okay, you take this one away.
yeah, then she's like, this is a classic argument, right? And it's playing out so in such a identifiable, relatable way.
I know.
And she's like, it's not like that. I didn't come back. برنگشتم. اومدم تکلیف بچه‌مو روشن کنم. So I came here to, this is interesting, تکلیف روشن کردن. So you will brighten the fate of something. Brighten the taklif.
The conclusion. It's
yeah.
like I'm here to figure out what's going on with my kid. Like to make a decision about my kid is basically what it is.
Yeah. The meaning is like basically, exactly, figure out situation with my kid. I'm trying to see how I can teach this word. So like taklif roshan kardan. So sometimes, let's say, like, you're waiting at the DMV and it's been 3 hours, right? And you keep talking to the person over there and they're like, oh, sorry, you need to wait more, sir or ma'am or whoever. And then, after 2 or 3 hours, you're like, hey, can you just tell me if I'm going to have an appointment today? Like, I've been here for 3 hours. Taklif man roshan kon. Like,
yes,
brighten my horizon, brighten my fate, brighten my conclusion for this situation. In other words, make this clear to me. What's my situation? Tell me my situation is basically what that means. And here he's saying,
when you say brighten, when you say brighten, though, it sounds like it's like trying to make it better. It's not that clarify. That's exactly what it is. It's like, show me what's going to happen. Because they could say like, oh, you have to wait 4 more hours. And then you're like, okay, taklifam roshan shod. I get it. It's not great, but now I know.
Yeah. Tell me what's going on is another way of saying. So I'm umadam taklif bacham roshan konam. I came here to figure out, my daughter's life, or I came here to figure out what's going on with my daughter. I did not come back to your arms. Nader, I came here to figure out the situation with our daughter. So okay. And then he says, well, he also bluffs again, and he says, taklif roshaner, her situation is clear.
Yeah. Okay.
تو 2 تا راه داری.
ببین برای من خط و نشون نکش.
Ooh. Okay, so then she says, to do ta rah dari. So she's giving him an ultimatum. You have 2 roads here. You have 2 things you can choose from. To do ta rah dari. And he says, برای من خط و نشون نکش. So what's that? خط و نشون.
So that's another great خط و نشون. Again, we're seeing 2 nouns come together to form a brand new word. خط means line. نشون is like target. But here, what خط و نشون means is like, don't intimidate me. Don't give me an ultimatum. Exactly. Don't give me an ultimatum, but generally it's like when you خط و نشون کشیدن for someone is intimidating or giving them an ultimatum or, kind of in a threatening way. So
it's drawing the line in the sand. It's like, don't give me that line in the sand.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. Okay.
خط و نشون یعنی چی؟ یا میای میری با این یارو مسئله‌تو حل می‌کنی.
اونو خودم میدونم باید چیکار کنم.
So much pride. Okay. And then she goes, خط و نشون یعنی چی? We just told you, Simin John. We just explained it. I'm just kidding. So she's saying, what is the خط و نشون? What does that mean?
Right.
یعنی چی? What does it mean?
But it's not like a literal, she's like, what are you talking about intimidation? What do you intimidation? Like, what are you talking about intimidation? It doesn't mean that she doesn't know what it means, like literally, but she's saying like, what do you mean intimidation? Like,
and she's like, no, I'm just telling you, these are your 2 choices.
Exactly.
It's not a, یا میری با این یارو مسئله‌تو حل میکنی. Is that right? So یا میری با این یارو. First of all, what's یارو?
Yaru, yeah. Well, it's interesting.
It's
so
one of the great words.
My name is Yar, and I assume this has some connection to it, but Yarud is just that guy. Yar can be friend, which is a poetic word for friend in Old Persian. And then Yaru is like that guy. So
that dude.
Yeah. So either you resolve your issue with that dude, mas'ale, And then how there's a lot of crosstalk here. So
Well, and I will say yaru is a really good word too. You don't use it with like a friend. You use it in an insulting way. It's always to diminish that person. Yaru kiye? Who's this dude?
who's this guy? Yeah,
Who's that?
exactly.
Yeah.
This bloke.
It's just like این یارو با من اینجوری حرف زد. This dude talked to me like this. Like you always use it in a negative way.
I'd say like even another one that I just thought of, schmuck. Like this schmuck or this bloke.
Schmuck,
or like,
absolutely.
You know, like that, like
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so then, and she's talking about the husband of the woman. So یا با این یارو مسئلت رو حل میکنی. Either you go figure out مسئلت, your problem. You like solve your problem with this guy.
And then he quickly butts in, I think, and he says, "Na uno khodam midunam bayad chikar konam." So he butts in. He's like, that guy, you're saying me, resolving that issue with that guy. He says, "No, I know what to do with him. I know what to do with him." So that's na uno khodam. That uno khodam midunam bayad chikar konam. I know what to do with him.
Yeah, and like I said, that's a lot of like pride because she's here being like, okay, let's solve this situation. I'm trying to figure out taklifu daram roshan mikonam. But then he's like, don't like stay out of my business. That's my business. And she's like, this is our business. Like, what are we? Okay, anyway. Tell whose side I'm on. Okay.
مگه نزدیش؟ مگه پرتش نکردی تو پله؟ مگه بچهش نمرده؟
آره.
This was the spoiler. مگه نزدیش? Didn't you hit her? مگه پرتش نکردی تو پله? Didn't you throw her on the stairs? مگه بچهش نمرده? Didn't her child die? So this woman suffered a miscarriage and it's very ambiguous what happened in this movie. There was like a moment of like something happened that we don't really know.
Exactly. Mage, it's a kind of a contracted form of magar. So yeah, that's very useful. Mage, didn't you? Mage, didn't you? It's just kind of, yeah.
And then he says,
آره بچه‌شو من کشتم.
آره. چی میگی؟
Okay, so this is another one of those things where he goes, آره بچه‌شو من کشتم. آره. So he's saying, yeah, I killed her kid. Yes. Although as the scene goes on, like first you're like, oh, is this an admission of guilt? But he's being sarcastic.
Exactly.
But then she takes it as like, she goes, خب پس چی میگی? So then what are you saying?
Yeah.
Like she believes that he definitely did it.
And look at خب پس. So you can see as you're in the heat of a discussion, whether it's an academic, intellectual discussion, an argument, at the convenience store with someone, خب پس is kind of like you're thinking like, okay, so what do you mean then? خب پس is great. You can say good and so. Good so. Good so. Good so. It's a very nice combination of words that makes you sound a lot more
well
native.
then.
Well then, sure.
Well then.
خب پس.
چی میگی? Okay, let's keep going.
چرا هی لجبازی میکنی؟ بیا این دیگر بده تموم شه.
Great.
Okay, چرا هی لجبازی میکنی؟ بیا این دیه رو بده تموم شه. Okay, چرا لجبازی میکنی? So first let's talk about that.
Okay, lajbazi is why are you being spiteful, I guess? It's like, when someone is just trying to spite you, right? Like you're arguing with someone and it's almost like, they don't want to lose the argument, so then, or they're just kind of like being spiteful. Lajbazi is like, I think the only word I could
being stubborn.
Yeah, but it's like spiting something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like being stubborn and like laj kardan. Yeah, I guess it's a very Iranian thing. It's like if I'm like, hey, Yara, come have this chai, and you don't want me to tell you what to do. It's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm not going to have that chai, even though you really want it.
I'm doing the laj.
You're lajing.
Yeah, I'm lajing, basically, yeah. You just kind of out of spite, just, no, I don't want to.
Exactly.
I don't want to.
Exactly.
No. Or like, let's say, you're poking someone until you get a response out of them. That's kind of like almost like a, lajbazi-ish behavior. But anyways, that's kind of what he's doing. And then she's like giving him a command, right? Like, bia in diyaro bede tamum she. So pay her the blood money for her dead baby, basically, which is a big spoiler. Pay her the blood money, the diye, and let's finish this. Tamum she. Bia bede tamum she.
پول زور به کسی نمیدم.
چرا پول زور؟
He goes, من پول زور به کسی نمیدم. Zur is like forced. Like forced. It's like power, but so it means force. پول زور به کسی نمیدم. I won't give someone money, forced money. So basically what he's saying is that he doesn't owe this money. It's being like forced from him. And he's like, I'm not going to. So he's basically like, I'm not paying a bribe because he doesn't feel like he owes it.
Let me just check one thing for the word for diye. I said it was blood money, but I want to make sure what the, because this I think is an Islamic concept. I have to make sure it's correct. Persian. Blood money. Oh yeah, that is the word. Okay, yeah. Okay, blood money. I said it correctly. All right, just wanted to double check there.
Yeah, it's a concept there. It's like a whole Iranian concept because if someone dies, like that's one of the ways that you can get out of it. Is we don't really have that in.
Yeah, exactly. You killed someone. If you pay this fee, we.
Yeah.
Anyway.
چرا پول زور؟ یه دقیقه خودتو بذار این بدبختا.
چرا پول زور? Why is it forced money? Why is it not just, basically? یه دقیقه, I think she says, خودتو بذار جای این بدبخت ها. That's really good. That's a few things that we could talk about. Go ahead.
So first off, like you just did right now, you know, a lot of times in terms of colloquial, common pronunciation, دقیقه becomes دقیقه. Almost like دقیقه. یه دقیقه, kind of like برای becomes بره. دقیقه becomes دقیقه. So یه دقیقه خودتو بذار جای این بدبختا. For 1 minute, for 1 second almost, put yourself in the place of those poor people, of those abject people, of those people in this tough situation. بدبخت.
Yeah, badbacht is just someone in a bad situation, like a poor person, impoverished person.
Yeah.
مگه من باعث بدبختیشونم؟
بچه‌شون مرده بابا.
And then مگه is like whether or is it the case. So he goes, مگه من باعث بدبختیشونم. So that's another thing where Yara was saying it's a filler word. He could have just said, من باعث بدبختیشونم.
Yeah.
Am I responsible for them being in a bad situation? But مگه, it's like whether, is it the case that I am responsible for them being in a bad situation?
Mage adds kind of
I'm
like a what? What? So me, so what?
Yeah,
It's kind of like mage. You throw mage at the beginning to be like, yeah.
Yeah. And then let's listen to the rest of this sentence.
منم بابام داغون شده. بیا برو ببین. یه کلمه دیگه حرف نمیزنه.
Yeah, and so he's basically saying I'm the reason for their suffering, for their badbakhti.
Suffering.
Yeah, suffering is probably a good one. And so badbakhti, the people those who've suffered, who are suffering. And then he says, and then he flips it and says, Man ham babam dagun shode, and my dad has been destroyed. He switches back to his father who has that medical condition. Bia boro bebin. Come go see. So this is another great example of verbs being strung together to create a very common colloquial sounding sentence. Bia boro bebin. Come go see. Go see my dad for yourself is what he's saying.
Yeah, go see for yourself. Bia boro bebin. Okay.
بیا برو ببین. یه کلمه دیگه حرف نمیزنه. اینا.
Okay. یک کلمه دیگه حرف نمیزنه. He can't even say one word anymore. Inaha. In means this. Inaha. Like, go see. Here you go. Here you go.
It's like,
Inaha.
Yeah, voila. I mean, not voila, but like.
Kind of. Yeah.
Here it, what would be a good
Here it is.
Here it is. Yeah.
It's kind of like, come go see. Bia boro bebin. Inaha.
Yeah. You can even use it in a non-argumentative sort of way as well. Like, where are you? Like you're playing hide and seek, you know, like, oh, inaha, or you're showing someone something in a magic trick, inaha, or like, so many different uses.
Okay.
مگه قبلش چقدر حرف میزد؟
همون 4 تا کلمه. من دلم به همون 4 تا کلمه خوش.
Okay. And she goes, مگه again. What are you saying? قبلش چقدر حرف میزد? Before, how much was he talking? And he says, همون 4 تا کلمه. Even just those 4 words. من دلم به همون 4 تا کلمه خوش بود. That's a great expression as well. دلم خوش بود means my heart was happy. So just those 4 words were like keeping me going. Were keeping my heart happy.
With his dad, right? So he was saying now.
He's just hanging on.
He was saying a few words. Now he's not saying anything at all. Look, I'm also suffering. I'm the one that's badbacht. He's basically trying to say. And so we're almost at the end here. Let's play the next bit.
من دلم به همون 4 تا کلمه خوش.
اینو میخوای بذاری بغل اون که زدی بچه‌ش افتاده؟
تو کدوم گوری بودی که ببینی من زدم؟
All right. So basically she says, "Ino mikhai." I mean, she's saying it very quickly, and I have to say I don't blame, Persian learners who are going to watch this and be like, "Holy gosh, that is good lord, that is fast." So, "Ino mikhai bezari bagal hamoni ke zadi bachchash uftade." So this is "Ino mikhai bezari." You want to put well, actually, I'm curious now. And reading this in a text, what is she referring to?
Because the father deteriorated, so that's what's kind of left to this. So in the beginning, he's had dementia, and now he can't speak at all, and he's become nonverbal while we've been going
now
through
I
the
see.
movie.
Now I'm remembering.
So then he's like, because he's like, now my father can't even talk anymore. It's their fault. So then she's saying like, oh, you're going to put the blame of this on that because he's sick, So then it's not like, maybe they weren't good caretakers, but also maybe it's just his time. Like that's the disease.
So she's saying, "Ino mikhai bezer." You want to put this situation with your dad next to this woman who lost her child, this pregnant woman.
But not next to, bagale. So you're putting it under their arms, like you're blaming it on them.
Yeah, exactly. So literally it's like putting it under their arms, putting something next to, but she's saying you're comparing this with the woman who lost her child, or you're blaming this on the woman.
Yes.
You're blaming this on the woman who lost her child.
And then so we talked about gure baba. So gur is a grave, right? So he says, "To kudum guri budi." So this is like he's pissed now. Budi ke bebini man zadam. What grave were you in?
Like, where the hell were
you?
So
again, exactly. Where the hell were you? Exactly. For you to see. Because, from the beginning, he's also talking about you're the one who left. And he's like, where the hell were you that you saw that I hit her?
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't there. You haven't been here. You took off and left. Okay.
پس این چجوری بچه‌ش مرده؟
Okay. And we're going to leave it at that cliffhanger. And he goes, and she's just stopping there. She's like, ooh, that oof. So she takes a second and then she says, "Pas in chejuri bachchash morde." So then how did her kid die? Again, she was pregnant, so she had a miscarriage, the woman who was working for him.
Exactly. I think that context is necessary. And so then she, like you just said, Simin ends by saying, "Pas in chejuri bach." So how did her child die? All right.
If you didn't do it, how did her kid die?
Tokodum. Yeah, I love this. Tokodum guri budi. The word gur is just used for all sorts of negative contexts. Gure baba.
Yeah, and it does require like curse words in the English language. I guess we have to have a spoiler at the beginning of this, but it is a high cutting. You can't just. It is like, where the hell were you?
Yeah. Gure baba. Okay. Well, and with that, we bring our little analysis of this argument to a close.
Yeah, let's watch the whole thing from the top.
شبانه با تو جمع کنم بریم خارج.
گوره بابای خارج، چرا مثل آدم حرف نمیزنی؟ من اومدم دارم با تو حرف میزنم راجع به ترمه. این چه وضعیه واسه این بچه درست کردی آخه؟
من این وضع درست کردم؟ خوبه رود میشه واسه جلوی من این حرفو بزنی؟ کی خونه زندگیشو ول کرد رفت؟ کی برای من درخواست طلاق داد؟
خودت گفتی هر موقع خواستی برو.
آره الانم میگم. برای چی برگشتی؟
برنگشتم. اومدم تکلیف بچه‌مو روشن کنم.
تکلیف روشنه.
تو دو تا راه داری.
ببین برای من خط و نشون نکش.
خط و نشون یعنی چی؟ یا میای میری با این یارو مسئله‌تو حل می‌کنی؟
نه اونو خودم میدونم باید چیکار کنم.
مگه نزدیش؟ مگه پرتش نکردی تو پله؟ مگه بچه‌ش نمرده؟
آره بچه‌شو من کشتم.
خب چی میگی؟ چرا هی لجبازی می‌کنی؟ بیا این دیگر بده تموم شه.
من پول زور به کسی نمیدم.
چرا پول زور؟ یه دقیقه خودتو بذار جای این بدبختا.
مگه من باعث بدبختیشونم؟
بچه‌شون مرده بابا.
منم بابام داغون شده. بیا برو ببین. یه کلمه دیگه حرف نمیزنه. اینا.
مگه قبلش چقدر حرف میزد؟
همون 4 تا کلمه. من دلم به همون 4 تا کلمه خوش.
اینو میخوای بذاری بغل اون که زدی بچه‌ش افتاده؟
تو کدوم گوری بودی که ببینی من زدم؟
پس این چه جوری بچه‌ش مرده؟
All right. There we go. And again, you'll have to watch the movie to see how this concludes. But this concludes our separation series. And please let us know how you like this series. I think it's a really effective way to learn. Hopefully you can watch these clips and feel a connection to all the words and phrases. Again, I'll be back on the next lesson going through what we just learned individually, word by word, phrase by phrase. Yara, do you have any parting words about this series or this this movie?
Yeah, I mean, this has been fun for me also to break things down that I don't really think about sometimes. You just hear things, but it really does demonstrate, I think, a lot. Like the Persian language does have a lot of very visual descriptors for some concepts that may not be as visual in English. So, Gura Babat, right? Gura, grave of your father. And then you learn all these other insults, Zahremar, snake poison. And, when you translate them, they don't really seem particularly bad, but they do have this cutting effect in Persian. So if one thing we can learn from this is just these very, when you translate them, but these very descriptive graphic translations of insults that carry a lot more weight when you say them in Persian than they do when you say them in English. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this series, and thank you everyone for listening.
Goodbye.